Hello, I'm Penny,
And I'm Les.
and you're tuning in to Looking Out and Looking Up. And I've been thinking, or I've been noticing that a lot of people are feeling like, or they're asking themselves, have I been wasting my life?
Yes. Yes, you have.
No, I've been thinking about my brother.
Oh.
And if you knew my brother, or anybody that knows him, if you would, they'd ask you, is Joe, I think Joe's wasting his life. And if you asked him, he would completely disagree. Because my brother, he's passed away now, but he has never really worked a job in his life, or let's say worked for someone in his life. The last official job that he was in the military. He was in the Army. And after he got out of the Army, he didn't become an employee to anyone. He was always doing something that he wanted to do. And throughout our life, my brother's and my life, as the years passed, I always thought, well, I hope he gets his life together. I hope he gets a job. I hope he finds a woman and settles down and buys a house and all the normal, the script, life script that society tells us. And all these years, I always, to be honest, I looked down on my brother because he just didn't seem to have everything going or what I was hoping for him.
So he wasn't like the American or the Western ideal of success.
That's true. And this is Les because Les is not ready to show his face to the public, okay? So that's why you're only seeing me.
Well, Les is all right with showing his face to the public. It's just that Les doesn't necessarily like the way that the world is going with, I don't know, identifying people and what their views are necessarily. It's not that it's so difficult to tie us together with Penny out here putting her face out and about, but I try to keep, it's been this way for years, it's not anything new for me. I've tried to keep my face off from the internet for the most part, as much as possible. I don't really like people posting photos of me, and a few have slipped through the cracks over the years, but in general, I don't make appearances, even in still shots, on Facebook or any of the other places. So it's not a fear item. It's just simply I don't know where the world is going as far as identifying people, flock cameras, the like.
So would you say that you had that same feeling or thought about my brother?
No, not really. I mean, I always kind of viewed Joe or your brother as a passerby, right? He was a guy who was doing what he wanted to do, kind of when he wanted to do it. It's maybe no more of a free life than kind of the way he lived his life. It's not necessarily something people agree with. I get it that it's not the Western ideal, but I never saw your brother as anything other than a guy who was doing what he wanted to do, kind of when he wanted to do it. And he was disciplined in many ways to get things done.
He had a lot of skills.
He was very skilled. Yeah, he certainly could have gone and made really good money for a construction company or
well, he did.
Any number of other
He
things.
did have his own construction company for a few years after he had got out of the Army, and he tried the have a business, and he even got married, and it just didn't work out for him.
Well, I guess maybe this shows some people's inability to deal with the requirements placed on people to actually run a quote-unquote business. Not everybody necessarily does that too well. So all the things that we assume, or all the things that we believe that you have to do to run a business, and keeping your records. And your brother was not particularly good at doing any of it, or didn't. I shouldn't even say. I'm sure he would have been perfectly fine at doing it. He didn't have a desire to do it. Which, why should somebody have to keep all of those records? And those are things that we all just assume that should be done. But your brother really wasn't wired that way, and that's where I kind of say the freedom end of it came for him. He really wasn't beholden to government agencies per se. He showed up and did work for folks and kind of went on his way. They paid him, they got what they requested, and he was paid, and he moved on and did something different, and moved on to the next project.
And he did that for the majority of his life. He passed away when he was 57 from cancer. And I've been thinking about him often, and I think, wow, he really did live. He really did have more freedom than a lot of people that I see.
Oh, I would say more freedom than probably the vast majority of Americans. But, that freedom comes at a price. People have a hard time wrapping their head around, people would like freedom, but then they don't really want necessarily what follows. And that was, like you say, your brother was never going to be in a position to truly own a home. I don't think he desired to own a home, so that wasn't really that big of a deal to him. But, his advertising, stuff like that, he really couldn't advertise. Everything he did was word of mouth. He did excellent work, and people passed it on to their friends, the type of work he did. But yeah, it's kind of avoided a lot of. Well, he definitely avoided a ton of bureaucracy.
Well, I know he was like me when we were in our later teens in high school, near graduation, and when you're at that age, you're still basically a child because you've never experienced anything, and you're relying on all the adults around you to guide you, and you're observing and what's going on, and you think, oh, I have to decide on going to a college. Is that it? And I'm going to tell you that when I turned 18, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I didn't. I had no clue. I just knew, well, whatever it is I'm going to do, I am going to do it to the best of my ability, but I have no idea. I don't know what university I want to go to. All of my peers, my classmates, they all knew I'm going to go to University of Florida or the University of Louisville or...
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of people, what's funny about what you're saying is I think a lot of people are making their decisions based on almost like a television reality. They think they know what they want to do, but not really based on, it's not that they've shadowed people who do what it is that they're looking into pursuing. They do it based on what they've seen in movies or a television show, and, well, that looks like an interesting career, and that really doesn't have any basis in reality. So you're asking young people with really no life experience whatsoever, and that's the fault of the adults in their lives. They don't really have any experience about what it is that they truly like to do, what's involved with that job day to day. We try to make them look sexy, I guess, on paper, if you will, the jobs looking sexy on paper. But the jobs themselves generally are not all that sexy. I mean, I look at it from my view, and this is going to factor into a little bit about this topic, and that is most people are sold a bill of goods about a job and about a career path. But they don't, the term I use is Madison Fifth Avenue. It's the marketing, it's what's been put in front of you, and like I say, it's not really necessarily based on reality, it's based on how they want it to appear. So I was fast tracking to management, and I was only 20 years old. I did not have a college degree. I had college credits, but I had never actually truly followed through with any kind of college education. So I'm trying to think back to how this all kind of went down, but I was offered at a very young age a management position with the largest steakhouse in the United States at the time. And one of the conditions of that is that I couldn't remain where I was. And in the restaurant that I was currently working in, and the people that I had developed relationships with, and they saw that as a bad idea for you to come up through that same restaurant. They were worried that people wouldn't respect you because you had started off as kind of a grunt. You were a nobody, and you've made your way up and through. And the option was given to me at, I don't know, 20 years old, to relocate and to go ahead and pursue this, but you're not going to do it here. So they're going to move me, 3 or 4 hours away into an area or a location that, I was a country bumpkin. I was, had always been raised. I was raised on a 40-acre farm, and trying to look back, and the city did not look all that appealing. Where they wanted to move me to was not that appealing of an option to me. So I declined, and of course that kind of put me on a halt. But what it made me realize.
Why did you decline?
I did not want to move to the area that they were inviting me to move to. Right? It was not where I thought that I belonged. It was not a place that I saw myself raising children or having my family, or it was not anything. It was not a place that I wanted to be. And it hit me then, already at 20 years old, and this is where the intuition under this kind of comes in. It hit me then that by entering management, you give up a lot of choices. You give up a lot of your freedom. You are going to become the company man, and for that, you receive something. Obviously, they're going to pay you, and you're going to get a quote-unquote career. But at what cost is the career coming? And I do not. I absolutely despise a life without options, and that just seemed already at 20 years old that, man, these people are really going to dictate a lot in my life. The company that I worked for, it was pretty obvious. You would come in, and let's just say a general manager of the steakhouse was moved on, and there was really not a whole lot of notice given. We saw it with firings, we saw it with demotions, we saw it with people, just even promotions. I saw it on more than one occasion that upper management came in and said, well, Monday you are going to be here. This is where you're going. This is what you're going to be. And of course, the company paid for your relocation and all of that. But I don't really like people dictating those types of terms to me. So it became pretty obvious to me at a very young age that management was probably not something that I really wanted to pursue. Now, the actual base of this is, are you wasting your life? And that's something that we had watched a video earlier, and a woman was talking about when she was younger and she pursued kind of a career in helping folks. It was mental health work kind of thing, and she was not making a lot of money, but she really enjoyed what she was doing and felt that she went home every day with a sense of accomplishment, or that she had helped somebody and made a difference. And she left that job for a more lucrative job, a job in corporate America, I guess kind of like in the mutual funds market, or doing software creation, something like that. And she was talking about how she's 60 years old and she was not happy. She now feels like maybe she's wasted her life. And what this video is really out there to do is to help you determine, how do you know when you're wasting your life? How do you know when you're following what it is that you believe maybe you were put here to do, or what makes you happy, versus Madison Fifth Avenue? What society expects from you? I like to refer to myself as the great underachiever. I was certainly capable of doing more inside a company and for other folks within those companies than what I ever actually did. I did not aspire to want to do those things, because I saw, like I said earlier, I saw at a very early age, you give up a lot for that money. And I look at the money that I've made through the years. I've never made tons and tons of money. We've had a few years where we did really well.
But how would you, like for our grandchildren,
mm-hmm.
okay, they're in their mid-teens, and
Mm-hmm.
as they get closer to graduating school,
Mm-hmm.
they're already telling me, they're saying, when they come over, they say, Yai, I want to be a chef.
Mm-hmm.
I want to travel the world, and I want to be a chef in France.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have our other granddaughter. She says she plays a musical instrument and
Plays tennis.
she plays tennis, and she told me, she says, "Yai, I want to." She wants to travel also to play in different orchestras, and I think it's great and it's wonderful that they had these aspirations. But I think they're when they share these things with me, it's because, of course, they want me to be proud of them, and of course I'm going to encourage them. But part of me, I tell them, do you really want to do that? Had you thought about, for example, you want to be a chef? Have you really thought about what it requires to be a chef? That means you'll be working strange hours, not the normal hours.
Well, and this is kind of where my whole Madison Fifth Avenue thing comes from. So I was in that line of work, and I think that people they view that line of work as being Anthony Bourdain or Wolfgang Puck or who's the other crazy guy who yells and screams all the time. But anyway, that's where people pick up. They view that as like a very uppity type of life and a very glamorous type of life, when in fact the day in and day out grind, like you say, of being a chef and a working chef is draining. It's long hours, it's terrible hours, it's holidays, there's a lot of, and like I say, if you're going to base that on seeing a movie about somebody who was a chef or watching these television shows of these chefs, just realize that they're even more rare than professional football players. This is a little bit about like aspiring to be a professional football player and hedging all of your bets on becoming a professional football player. It's even more rare that you will be a chef who is got his own television show and is traveling the world and doing all the fun stuff. I'm not even sure. I don't really know from a factual end how good Anthony Bourdain could even cook, but he certainly made his living as a wonderful storyteller. Not so much as a chef, but as a wonderful storyteller.
So I don't know how I would get that, how we would get that information across to our grandchildren that you really have to decide, well, you don't have to decide and follow along with, okay, this is what I'm going to do because this is what society tells me I have, the script I have to follow. And I just want to tell them, and I've asked them, I said, what is it that you enjoy doing, that you really enjoy doing? What lights your fire? What do you get excited about? And they don't really have a response for me. And that's why
Well, that's why I say it kind of comes back on our generation, or their parents, and us being their grandparents. They just have not had their foot inside the real world, right? And the more screen time that young folks get, the worse it's going to be. They are drawing their ideals or their idea of how something is from a screen, and that doesn't have a real basis in reality. And most people are going to tell you, of course, that your day in and day out job is kind of boring, and it's not the excitement and the glamour that everybody wanted it to be, no matter what it is that you decided to pursue. But how do you know? I mean, how? The real question is, they have to dip their toes in at some point into something, and they're going to have to make a decision about what it is that they want to do with their lives. How do they know when they should continue on that course? How do they know when it's time to cut bait and run, or when they should stick with it? I mean, is it just a tough stretch? Is it a bad stretch they're going through, or is this the way that the job is going to remain, or the career choice is going to remain? Those are the questions that that everybody has to answer for themselves. Now,
yes, but when you're that young, how do I want to get our message across to our grandchildren?
Well, you have to have a message first, right? So the message is what? They have to follow their dream, or what? Do what's practical. I would suggest for the vast majority of people to do what's practical and to make their living doing with dealing or going through day-to-day motions on things that aren't making them miserable. Things that you don't and that you absolutely despise. Like I never want to be a car salesman, right? I don't want to do that type of work. I would never enjoy doing that type of work. I don't like sales for the most part of any type. I just don't like sales. And if that's what I would be doing day to day in the grind, and it would be making me miserable. As it is, I generally follow trades, and I would prefer doing physical work and getting some of that pent up stuff out and continuing my physical work, and just going to work day to day and realizing that I am not my job. My job is just paying my bills. My job is just allowing me to continue to exist, and it allows me to do the things that I actually enjoy doing. So that would be my riff for most people is you're going to get involved in a job at some point where all that's really happening is people are taking from you. You're going above and beyond, and they're going to demand more, and it's going to run you ragged, and if you don't like the job at all, it's going to just make you go crazy. You're going to have no happiness in your life. Are you waking up in the morning dreading doing what it is that you're doing? See, this is my situation. I don't have this in my situation now, but I think of my situation now. I'm not doing what I aspired to do as far as my job. However, I'm not miserable getting up in the morning to go do my job. And when I leave my job, I don't typically think too much about my job. I come home and then do the things that I enjoy doing. And I've been able to separate those things. And through some luck and through some planning on our part, we've been able to step away from working for years at a time. We've been able to visit other countries and spend time living in those countries. And we've never been wealthy. And we've been able to step away and do those things. And I would consider that a better situation than what most people have going on.
So how do we get that message across to our grandchildren and to
Well,
people who feel like they're stuck and they're wasting their life?
Well, you're never. This is the first thing people have to realize: you're never stuck. There are always options. Always. Does that mean you have to take a pay cut? Does that mean you have to give up some of the things that you thought that you wanted? The newer car, the bigger home, the boat, you might have to give up some of those things. You might have to not pursue some of the physical, some of those rewards, if you will, and you have to put yourself first and your mental health and your happiness first. That's what counts. It's not. We're all going to make decisions that we don't like. The thing is let's not stick with them so long that we regret them, right? So make that decision, dip your toes in the pool, see if that's something you want to do. And the other thing that's missing in all of this is the creativity. So simply because you would go to culinary school doesn't mean that you have to go be a chef in a 5-star restaurant. There's a lot of different things you can do with that skill if you choose to do that. But you're probably not going to be Anthony Bourdain, and you're probably not going to be Wolfgang Puck, and you're going to have to settle for the fact that you're going to be somewhere in the middle in that career path. And are you happy doing it? Are you happy pursuing that? That's the biggest thing.
So, like, how do people get to that point to listen to their intuition? How did my brother arrive at the point, I don't want to work for someone. I don't want to do that.
Well, it's part of its personality issue, and the other one is here again. I think the biggest thing that people can do if they want to be able to hear or listen to their intuition is they have to disconnect from a lot of things. You're going to have quiet time. You're going to have reflection time, right? You're going to have to say, is this really what I want? Ultimately, am I pursuing what is going to make me happy? And most people
They don't know what happiness is except for
No.
what society has told them.
Well, they do know. Excuse me. They do know what happiness is. They just are. us. They're numb to it. They decide we cover our own intuition and our own happiness with distractions. That's television, that's sports, that's food, that's prescription drugs. For some people it's illicit drugs, I suppose, and alcohol. But it's there. It's there in all of us. If you're a real human being, it's deep down in you, and you can find your happiness. It's what makes you smile when you think about it. It's the things that it's not difficult. It's just unplugging is the difficult part. It's overcoming all of the distractions in your day-to-day life that are telling you, no, do this. No, make this decision. This is the responsible decision to make. This is the right thing to do economically. This is, where are you going? Are you thinking about what's going to happen when you're 60? Are you now, did you ever go through your life, and this is the difference, I'm going to use this as an example, did you ever go through your life concerned about what was going to happen to you at 60?
I never even considered it.
Me neither. But the whole world is telling you that should be your number one priority, is what are you going to do when you retire? I'm not saying don't prepare for it. If you're in a position to prepare for it, stack some money away, make some investments, whatever it is. But I don't live my life, and I think this is a huge distraction for people, is they're so caught up in what's going to happen when they're 65. I got news for you folks, at 65, your life is 80% over, 90% over, if not more. So don't live your life just concentrating on, oh, I'm going to retire well. Live your life, I'm going to live well. I'm going to do things that I enjoy. I'm going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm not just going to get up and do this job that I hate for 40 years so that I can retire with $1.5 million in my account.
But then that means you have to change your perspective, change your values.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you really have to change your values. You just have to set aside what your true values are. Not the hardware store. But you have to figure out what your real values are. Here again, not Madison Fifth Avenue's idea of what your values should be.
Like my brother.
Your brother valued not taking orders from people. Your brother valued doing what it is that he wanted to do day to day. And
he enjoyed constructing things and repairing things, and when he needed money, people say, hey, well, I need this portion of the roof fixed. And
well, he was very good at screen rooms. He spent a lot of years in Florida building the screen rooms, and he was a guy who could work in the aluminum. One of the few guys down there who could actually work the aluminum the way that he did. And he had a tremendous following. People wanted him to do that work, and there's plenty of times where he didn't do any work because he was just didn't feel like working for that 6 months or that whatever it was. He was going to do his own thing. And that is real freedom. Now, he didn't live to be 60, but
he didn't own a home. He didn't own a vehicle.
He owned vehicles, just on and off. They kind of came and went. They were kind of like they were like relationships to a degree in his life. They kind of came and went, and he didn't fuss too much over it. He was actually quite zen, if you think about it, I suppose, maybe in that way. He was really quite a zen person. Did what he wanted to do pretty much when he wanted to do it. There were times where he was strapped for cash and he probably had to work. He had to build something that he didn't really feel inspired to necessarily build. But he lived his life pretty much on his own terms. That was the story, and we are all capable of doing that. Everyone here, everybody listening to this is capable of doing that. It's just you have to get your values in order. You have to listen to what it is that you want to pursue, the things that you want. And please, some people will forever tie themselves to their career. Other people will see working as a means to an end of things that they would like to do. The job is not what they're driven to do. The job lets them do the things that they're driven to do. That's the difference. There's nothing wrong with having a high-paying job if you enjoy it. But are you truly enjoying it, or are you enjoying the minutes here and there of the lifestyle it provides you? Are you enjoying some of the dinner parties? Are you enjoying some of the fancy things that you can buy? And how much are you truly enjoying those things? So the takeaway here is what?
To self-reflect.
Self-reflect. I think that is 100% true. Unplug. Take time to really think about what is going to make you happy, and stop thinking about, and this is a difficult one, stop thinking about what's going to make your parents happy, stop thinking about what's going to make your business associates happy, or even your significant other. Your significant other should be happy if you are finding happiness. You have to put those things aside. You have to take time. I don't know. Get out in nature. I don't know what to tell people as far as where they're going to self-reflect. Get in the shower and sit and think for 10 minutes in a nice warm shower and relax and think about what it is that you truly are aspiring to, what it is that you really do want out of life. Take those minutes, take those moments and self-reflect. All right, Penny, what do you think?
I hope our grandchildren don't ever feel like they're wasting their life.
Well, I think we're all going to go through moments or times of that, but like I say, you can change course. Don't do something long enough to regret it. Change course, you have options. You always have options.
Okay. And we will talk to you soon.